So in this video, I'm going to go over a method by which you can see the utility of different techniques or styles. Hi guys, my name is Joe and welcome to my channel, Fighting Words, the Martial Arts Library. And on this channel, I review martial arts books and talk about other martial arts related subjects. Now, this week, instead of doing a book review, I'm actually taking something from a book. The book itself is Mastering Karate by Dr. Jerry Beasley, and I thought I'd take a look at what he calls the Beasley Matrix. Now, in the book itself, this is basically sort of a two-page sidebar, but I thought it was pretty helpful, so I'm going to share it with you guys. Now, Dr. Beasley refers to this matrix as a system for cognitively discovering the utility of an art or technique. And the matrix itself is going to be in a grid pattern. So you're going to have columns and rows, and there are going to be a total of 5 columns. And each of those is going to represent something. The first 3 columns are going to be on range. So he divides range into kickboxing, trap boxing, and ground fighting. He might have even called it ground boxing. The kickboxing and ground ranges are pretty self-explanatory. When he says trap boxing, you can think of that as sort of being, attached striking. If you do some sort of combatives, you can think of it as trapping range. I would say trapping is a skill and not a range, but, or sort of clinch. You are standing, you are attached to your opponent somehow, you are not fighting at a distance. Now, the other 2 columns, one is for personal preference, which pretty self-explanatory, how much you as an individual prefer that technique or style. And the other one is for window of opportunity, which is how often do you have a chance to apply this thing. So what are the rows going to be? The rows are going to be the thing that you are grading. I got 2 different tables. One is for technique and another one is for style. I'll show them throughout the video. You can see that I have the first 5 on top and then just a list of just sort of things I've been picking through. Now, once you have that, the space in between you fill with a series of numbers. He suggests 1 through 3. So this is the Beasley Matrix as it is presented in the book Mastering Karate. I would suggest that, perhaps you could have a greater margin with that when you do it on your own. But for now, we're going to use the 1 through 3 system. In this system, 1 is the most highly valued. 3 is valued the least. So, for instance, if we take a technique like a jump spinning back kick, your window of opportunity for that might be a 2 or a 3, depending on, what environment you're going to be training in. Whereas something like a jab, again, depending on the environment, would probably be a 1, because jabs are very easy to throw, they're non-committal, they are mechanically very simple. So the window of opportunity for that is going to be greater than something that's more complex or something that requires you to be in a position or have a certain amount of skills that you are unlikely to have. Once you've gone through and numbered everything, you add up the total and then divide the total by 5. And the closer the number gets to 5, that is how useful the technique or style is. So, going back to the example of a jab, you can use it at kickboxing range, it's going to be a 1. Trapping range, I would suggest that what I would refer to as a jab might be a 2 there. You know, I don't see that as working out. On the ground, 3. It's not going to show up very often. For personal preference, 1. Window of opportunity, again, is 1. And as you can see by looking at these tables, I've done some of the math to give some examples. Now, he presents this as being useful for techniques and also for martial arts. He also offers up training methods as well. I would also suggest that maybe equipment and weapons could be used in this matrix, you know, and I think this is just generally a good way to go, okay, what training method do I value more than something else? What weapon should I focus on training based on these criteria? One of the tips that Dr. Beasley gives is to go with your first impression. He also notes that environmental factors may have an effect on the window of opportunity. He uses the example of if you are, you know, on a slippery surface, that perhaps kicking would have a lower window of opportunity. This is the basic overview for that Beasley Matrix. Again, I have found it to have some utility when I take a look at not just the things I practice in martial arts, but I've used it for other things as well. Like I said, maybe consider changing up the numbering system. You know, I prefer to do 1 through 5 just because, you know, I like having a greater margin of error. You know, and I'm sure you as individuals can take this idea and run with it and find new and different ways to use it. But on a fundamental level, as it's presented, I think it's a good thing for martial artists, especially those who cross-train, to sort of take a look at and evaluate the things that they do for, you know, how much time should I be spending with this? I'm not really comfortable with this, even though it has a high level of utility. Maybe I should train this a little bit more. You know, it's just sort of get your head into whether or not you should be training a particular set of skills or a particular technique, and how much time you should devote to that. So that's all I have for this week, and I hope it's been useful, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.